Hi, welcome to day 34 of Getting to Know Yourself. So I listened back to a few of the last ones. I feel like they're a little bit complicated because a lot of information was spoken when really it doesn't need to be so complicated. It's a very simple um, thing because we're speaking about our existence, which has a lot of layers, but the underlying point is that we are a soul, a pure soul that has this connection to God every moment. That it's the deepest layer of our soul is always connected to Him. I mean, and He streams through us. That ability streams through us every moment. So what we want to do with that is we want to begin to be able to experience that. How do we know when we are experiencing it? How do we know when we're not experiencing it? So the way to know when we're experiencing it is by noticing how we feel. Do we feel like we're alive right then? Do we feel like this thing is making us come alive? Do we feel a feeling of peacefulness, acceptance? Do we feel any enjoyment? Those are clues that we're actually beginning to exist from that space of who we are, soul, because the greatest gift God gave us is life. And life is our ability to express ourselves and Him through this world, through our actions, through our thoughts, through our feelings, through our speech. And in order to do that, A, yes, we have to know who we are, but B, we have to know how that feels. And we do know, we spoke about how there's something called ego, Yetzer Hara, that tries to take us away from it. And how do we know when we're in ego space? When we're feeling judgment, when we're feeling resistance, when we're feeling like we're very attached to material things and or we're very attached to an outcome rather than trusting the process, when we're feeling reactive, those things are coming from the ego. And there's nothing we have to do with that information except to observe it and be aware of it when it happens. If we get into the judgment mode of our own ego, that's just ego stepping in again, because judgment is a space of ego. So I was thinking, how are we going to make this very practical and simple at the same time? And then Hashem put in front of me this book called Reclaiming the Self by Rav Dov Ber Pinson. He runs a center in Brooklyn called the Ian Center, which I have never been to, but now I'm curious to go. But anyway, this book, Reclaiming the Self on the Pathway of Teshuva, actually speaks about what we've been speaking about this entire past 33 times. His chapter 1 says, the first step to do is be in the present. He said, in the early 19th century, Reb Moshe of Kubrin passed away. And Reb Mendel of Kutsk approached Reb Moshe's disciples and requested that they eulogize him and describe his special qualities. There was no particular area of life in which he excelled, they said. He was unique, however, in that whatever he was doing at that moment, he was completely present. Whatever occupied him at any given moment was all that was relevant to him. Wherever he was fully there. What is that idea of being present? If you look at Hashem's name, the Yud-Kei Vav-Kei, it stands for Haya, Hove, V'Yihiyeh. He was, he is, and he will always be. God transcends time. We don't while we're in our body, but as soon as we leave our body, yes, we also rejoin with him and completely and transcend time also. But in this moment in time, we can be completely present and not stuck in our thoughts about the past, not stuck in our thoughts about the future, but just totally here and now. And what that does when we begin to exist from the here and now in this moment, we'll begin to experience our true self, our soul. in his synopsis on chapter 1, he says, learn to focus on the present. When we are occupied with our past or future, we are stealing a moment from the now. The gift of life is the present. The past is memory and the future is imagination. The only true moment of life is the formless and eternal now. Now, what's the practice we're going to do? Because I said there's going to be a practical application. In order to be present, we need to cultivate mindfulness. Before taking any action, speaking any words, or deliberately thinking any thoughts, pause and become mindful of what you are about to do or say. Here's what Rav Dover continues to say. Take an action as simple as enjoying a drink of water. Before you say the bracha or blessing over the water, pause for a moment and open fully to consciousness of gratitude. When someone is speaking with you, be fully present with the person, disregarding any thoughts that may come up that would try to define who this person is. If asked a thoughtful question, resist formulating a response until you have heard what is being asked in its entirety. Think it through first, then respond with caring and consciousness. And this can be applied broadly also to if we're having a difficult moment with a child in front of us. Rather than resisting the child's actions, surrender in that moment, be in that moment, and maybe you'll see, okay, I need to take a step away in order to know what action is required to help this child learn what this child needs to learn. But if we are reactive or judgmental or attached to an outcome or attached to a thing or resisting what they're doing, we're not existing in the present. We're existing in an ego. So we want to take a step back and have one thing a day, do one thing a day with intention, with being mindfully present. And let's just take a moment to do that right now. Everybody just close your eyes, unless you're driving. Take a deep breath in. And take a moment to find something that you're grateful for in this moment. And then just take a moment to say thank you, Hashem, for that. If you see the picture I put, it says, listen carefully to the world, God is speaking. And we're going to continue with this tomorrow because I don't want to take up too much time. But this is when we become present, we're going to start noticing the conversation we're in with God, with Hashem, every moment. So, Amir Hashem, more tomorrow. I'm looking forward.